What's up, everybody? Before we get into the real video, I wanted to quickly do a shout out to Imua. Imua at this point of time is doing their token auction. It's a great principle. It's an amazing project as well. Did a full video on that. I'll leave the link to that down in the description. But you can bid on bundles of their tokens right now. I'll leave a link down in the description to that as well. And at this point of time, you're buying their tokens, or you can bid on their tokens below the prices where venture capitals bought. And if you get outbid, so if you bid something on these tokens and someone bids higher, you actually get a percentage of what they bid. So amazing opportunity for an amazing project. Links down in the description. Check that out. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great, and welcome to this new middle of the day market update. On the crypto markets today, we got some major news. You just saw a fragment on the Imua token sale. Just to talk about that a little bit longer, I think it's a real opportunity, right? I mean, I'm working together with them, and that is something you should know. But personally, I have participated in the token sale as well with quite a lot of money, and it's a serious project, right? And you're buying at prices lower than where venture capitals bought, who don't even get their tokens at the start yet. So I think it's a great opportunity. But okay, let's get into the video. We had some news today. Wanted to briefly touch upon that. Then we'll talk about how the fundamentals are looking right now. We'll talk about Bitcoin. We'll talk about Ethereum briefly. Briefly also about XRP, and then some altcoins that I think you need to know about and that actually have potential to rally much higher today and in the next week. So that's what we'll talk about. Let's get right into it. Today we had inflation rate and CPI data. Some of you joined us in the live stream earlier today. That data was actually bearish. We had CPI data that was higher than expected. Inflation rate and core inflation rate was as expected. So that's I mean, we wanted the inflation rate to be lower than expected. So this is slightly bearish. But it's not that bearish that it creates fears for stagflation, all right? And that's also why I think if you look at the markets right now, like if you look at the S&P 500, that is rallying. If you take a look at the dollar strength index, that is decreasing. That's good for the markets, by the way. If you look at the volatility index, that's up slightly, but it's still incredibly low if you compare it to where it was in the last couple of months when the markets also were doing great. So I think the news doesn't matter that much. It could have been better, but it doesn't matter that much. And I think the market reaction we've seen since then is confirming that. Now, the US session has started about 45 minutes ago. It could be that we're still going to get some volatility and that certain levels will still be tested. I think the likelihood of that is actually quite high. The volume we've seen so far during the US session has been relatively low, although that low volume has been relatively good. The main rule of thumb I have right now, well, it's not really a rule of thumb, but the main rule I have for the market right now is that as long as Bitcoin, which Bitcoin is actually very relevant at this point of time, it's slightly weaker now, but ultimately it matters a lot. As long as Bitcoin is holding this level at 112.8, we're fine. And I do think that if volatility kicks in over the course of today, Thursday is actually a relatively bearish day for Bitcoin historically. We could reach that level, right? But reaching that level doesn't matter as long as we hold it. As long as we hold it, I still expect higher prices. And I think it's most likely that we're going to be able to hold that. So those are my thoughts kind of on the fundamentals and Bitcoin. And my thoughts on Bitcoin are basically my thoughts for the markets. Ethereum tapped that 30-day rolling VWAP right now. Ethereum is actually looking pretty strong. But ultimately, we're still waiting for 4,500 to break for us to really talk about a bullish Ethereum. Until that time, we're just in this consolidation, and I would determine that Ethereum is neutral. But it's very interesting, and you should definitely have a price alert at 4,500 for ETH. Now, when we're talking about XRP is doing nothing. It's relatively strong, right? It's relatively stable because XRP, I mean, you would almost say, did we get any news today? Because XRP has been that stable and we got a spike into this level right here at 2.95, but an instant buyback into the point of control around $3. So it's stable, but it's lacking momentum, right? So I think it's still most likely that XRP is going to kind of stick around $3, and then if Bitcoin pulls back, XRP will pull back as well into that level at 2.92, 2.9. But I think it's going to be stable, and I think a little bit later, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, I think we're going to have enough momentum to get up to 3.12. So those are my thoughts on the fundamentals: Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP. Let's briefly talk about some altcoins right now. I think that there's definitely altcoins that you should pay attention to. I still think AFAX is very interesting, especially if we're going to get a pullback into the yearly rolling VWAP, which is between $27 and $26. Look, the tricky part with AVAX, which I'll just put the name of every coin on the screen. The tricky part is that we had a massive breakout, but the resistance level is pretty close. So you do really need to focus on getting a good entry right here, or maybe scalping it if you do want to trade this. I think ETH-Fi is quite interesting as well. Although with this, look, this is very dependent on Bitcoin, right? And this did break out, but it broke out with a lot of momentum. It's losing some of that momentum right now. And there's also a bearish divergence forming. So definitely interesting, but I would be a little bit more cautious with that. And what more do we have? I mean, there's quite a lot. Well, Solana is still quite strong. Solana is one of the strongest performers in the top 10 in the last 8 hours. So that is interesting to see. But outside of that, it's relatively limited. It's been a relatively quiet day so far when we take everything into consideration. So it's waiting for that volatility. 112.8 thousand is the key level to hold for Bitcoin. As long as we hold that, I think we're going higher into 116, 117, 118. And I think Bitcoin is going to pull altcoins together with that. Although before that, of course, we can still drop down lower. But those are my thoughts. I think that's what you need to know for now. So thank you for watching, everybody. Take care today. Be aware of the volatility that can occur. But if you are, then it's fine. So thank you for watching. Take care and bye.